Hello and welcome to our video on creating and using indicator bands. By learning how to edit and create these bands, you will also learn how they populate in your dashboards. Let's get started by accessing a data wall. Notice how all of these cells have either red, yellow, green, or blue bands. This is because indicator bands have been set up for each of these columns. Indicator bands provide two important functions in ION. First, when indicator bands are set up on data walls, users can quickly visualize student performance. Second, the data that uses indicator bands can be transformed into dashboards. Clicking on this wheel here, I can click on Edit to access the data wall editing function. I will click on this Edit button here on this assessment to edit the indicator bands. Notice that I can change a color, arrange, add a label, an icon, change the order of how these bands populate, add a type, and add points. Let's say that I want my users to quickly identify those in the 1st to 10th percentile. I can click on this plus icon here to add a range from 0 to 10. In the label column, I can add low. Then in the icon box, I could choose the exclamation point to demonstrate a warning that these students are 10th percentile and below. The order will be 6, the type reading, and points 2. Now I click Save. Notice that I need to adjust the next range, so I click on Edit on this 0 to 25 range and change it to begin at 11, change the order to 5, add reading type, and adjust the points to 2. I now have to adjust my yellow, green, and blue bands. I will add in the type and the points. Let's create an additional indicator band for my GT students. I will click on this plus icon here and create a band that starts at 96. I will label it high, choose a star icon, order it at 1, add reading, and leave the points be at 0. Click Save. Now I am all set. A quick word about the order of these bands. If I order blue as 1, my dashboards will build with blue at the top and red at the bottom. You could also reverse that order if you prefer, just like you see in this example. Now that we understand that order relates to how these colors populate on a dashboard, let's discuss these other options as well. Color and range are required and are directly related to the cut scores of student information, whether assessments, attendance, behavior, grades, etc. Importantly, the ranges need to encompass all possibilities so that all scores have a color band. This indicator band template demonstrates percentage points that go to 3 places in order to accommodate the full range of grades. Labels and icons are optional. Labels might come from the assessment vendor, or you can create them if desired. I created some labels and chose icons from the drop-down, as we saw in the earlier example. The type and points options are explained in the learning video on points. The type populates to choose only if it is set up ahead of time, and points can be assigned to each range as a way to sort the data wall. Now that I have finished editing my indicator bands, I'm going to click OK at the bottom. These indicator bands have now been edited only for this data wall. The template will not be updated unless we use the Save icon. We will learn more about this when we discuss icons in just a moment. For now, let's view the wall. Take a look at how these icons are populating here. We have now just reviewed how to edit indicator bands to change a color, arrange, add a label, add an icon, change the order of how these bands populate, add a type, and ascribe points. We are now ready to learn about the indicator band icons. Above the indicator bands, there is a suitcase, a save button, and a blue arrow. We will see later on that there could also be a green link. Each one of these has a separate function for indicator bands. To demonstrate, let's click on the Edit function on the Behavior Events column. This column does not have any indicator bands. When we click on the suitcase, we find predefined indicator bands that have been saved. I see the tabs follow the same path as the district walls and dashboards. My, School, District. Clicking on district bands, I see this one called Behavior Weekly. I can hover over the magnifying glass to see what is there, and I notice this will not work. I have a number of events, not a weekly behavior list. I will need to create my own indicator bands. Clicking on my plus icon, I choose green. 0 to 0 is my range. I am going to add behavior to the type and no points. Yellow, 1 to 2, behavior, 1 point. And red, 3 to 99, behavior, 2 points. Clicking on the save icon will save these indicator bands for others to use. Let's view the wall to see how it turned out. Okay, now my behavior events are banded, and my behavior and reading points have populated here. Let's return to the edit mode and explore the final icon, the blue arrow. In order to understand how the blue arrow functions, let's choose to add an assessment. I have chosen to add a map reading assessment. In the display field, I will choose percentile. For term, I will choose winter and test grade 4. Notice that ION is now asking me if I wish to use default templates. When creating an indicator band for an assessment, you can choose to save the indicator band to store in either My School or District Bands. If you are choosing District, you may want to click on the blue arrow to create a default template. This creates a more efficient process in adding indicator bands to the data wall. Whenever anyone enters those 3 items, they will be asked if they want to use the default template. Notice this assessment lineup requires a display field, a term, and a test grade. After clicking the blue arrow, a pop-up asks for information. Use the star if the default template applies regardless of grade or term. For example, these percentiles are the same regardless of grade or term, so I can choose star. Once the blue arrow icon has been used to create a global template, this green icon link appears here. This icon allows us to break that global template link for this assessment. This may be important if I have set up new indicator bands for an assessment. I can then reset the global link by clicking on the blue arrow after making adjustments. We have now learned how to create and save indicator bands, how to access and edit those bands, and how to create a global template that will save time and allow for continuity of indicator bands throughout your district. Be sure to access our video library to learn more. See you soon.